presidency blames governors for rising killings, accuses them of mismanaging security votes. Barrister, we all know that this so-called security vote is a massive corruption ring. That is the only fund. Some states get up to 20 billion naira. That is the only fund that does not, in the eye of the law, that the law does not even recognize. Recognize in the sense that it does not require any accountability. The governor can literally siphon, take the entire 20 billion. That is in some states. Some states are much higher. At least that is the average. 20 billion naira. That was then. I don't even know now. That was so many years ago. So now we should be talking about probably 40, 50, even up to 100 billion as for security votes, especially in the north where you have insecurity. Now, obviously, that is the money, the only money that the governor can single-handedly commandeer the entirety of that money without any questioning by law. Barrister, what do you agree with the presidency? Because the executive is blaming the governor, the presidency is blaming the governors, and the governors are blaming the executive.
How can anybody in his right sense blame the governors? It is sheer hypocrisy of the highest kind. The fact in this place is not about money. It is about security agencies failing to do their job. And the security agencies are under the control of the federal government. No governor has control over even the police in his state. They don't have control. If you set up a kind of what they use a euphemism, set up something like forest guard or this thing, you cannot arm them. These people that are doing this insecurity are fully armed with very sophisticated weapons. You do not expect the villagers and the governor to defend against these people. More often, when the army and security agencies are sent to the state, they don't take instructions from the governor. They take instructions from the chief of army staff and from the presidency. If you come, let me give you an example of Benue State. If security agencies are sent to Benue State, the governor has internal security reports. The local government chairman and the people know who and where those people are coming to attack. If you tell the army this and this is where people are coming to attack us, these are the people. Political considerations, and they have to get permission from federal government before they can act in those ways. In the past, we have seen political consideration restrain the security agencies from going after those people. So you can't come at the same time and blame governors and use security votes as an excuse. If the governor has 5 billion naira or 20 billion, in what way is he going to stop the killing in his state? If he does not have the security agencies where he can direct them, where they act on his instructions. So it is hypocritical for the presidency, whose actual responsibility is the safeguarding of lives and property, and by virtue of which they are giving command and control of all the security agencies that bear arms in the country, to shift that responsibility to the governor and claim, of course, we know the governor's PIFA and the security vote is an avenue for corruption. But to hide under that and blame them for the insecurity is definitely hypocritical. The presidency himself has security votes, which are also now audited. So what about his own? Are you coming, because the insecurity is continuing, and he can always go back to the National Assembly and get more. So is it a question of having a big log in your eyes but not seeing it and going to see a speck in the other person's eye? Or what? you have more money, more security votes than the governor by virtue of being the president or over, and you can always get more from the National Assembly. You have control of the police, you have control of the DSS, you have control of the Army, Air Force, Navy, all the paramilitary organizations that you can think of that bear arms. The governor does not have. So you bear full responsibility for the security of lives and property of Nigerians. And if it is not working, you should have the conscience and the humbleness to admit that you have failed, not to shift the responsibility to the governors.
All right.
Even though we know the governors
Yeah,
are as corrupt.
I agree with you to an extent, not completely. Because while I blame the governor, the presidency for that, just like you said, everything, the paraphernalia of security, entire security apparatus in the country is directly under the authority of the president. And that, in fact, not just directly under the authority, but authority of the president. So I agree with you that, but at the same time, it takes two to tango. We know how we know the dynamic of the Nigerian situation when it comes to demography, security. Security situation in Nigeria is so, there are so many factors to it. There are so many players, actors at play in this security situation. Everybody seems to be corrupt. We have the corruption in the military, we have the police, we have the DSS, we have the intelligence aspect, or every apparat, the entire system in the security structure are all corrupt. Everyone, including politicians too, who are not even in the security or whatever, they are corrupt. So there is a whole it's a conglomerate of corruption. So it takes, like I say, it takes two to tango. The truth is, while the presidency has the major, overwhelming major responsibility and blame, the governors too have, like I said earlier, some of the security or whatever, the governor, like we talk, I know why they mentioned the security vote. They mentioned the security not because the security agencies do not have a budgetary allocation from the federation account. Of course they do, but at the same time, we know, you and I know what is obtainable in Nigeria when it comes to this, because the commissioner of police will expect from that security. That is why that security vote is that is the essence of that security vote to states. They are expected to that money, if not corruption, that money is supposed to be used solely for security. And how? What are we talking about? All you need to do, what we expect the governors to do, is to augment, supplement, and help what federal government is doing by having to take care of these commissioners of police, the commanders of divisions in the military, the intelligence community, all the entire security apparatus that are involved in fighting insecurity. You're supposed to take care of them. You're supposed to allocate, this money is supposed to trickle down to them. The money comes to you as the governor, then you allocate this money, you share this money with the relevant authorities to take care of the security.
Let me chip in.
Yeah, but hold on, let me learn first. So the truth is, yes, overwhelming blame goes to the presidency, but honestly, governors too, they have a role to play. That is just the reality, because in some of these states, some of the governors are even involved. I remember during Erufai was involved in this insecurity. You and I know that Erufai was involved, excuse me, was involved in this insecurity of his own state as a governor. Go ahead, please, with your point.
Yes. First of all, let me say that you mentioned security votes, and you said, okay, the governors are supposed to supplement the federal government's effort with the security agencies. As a matter of fact, speaking here, I can tell you that of all the 36 state governors have been assisting the police and other security agencies in their state by buying them operational vehicles, patrol vehicles. Every governor in his state has, in one way or another, assisted the police.
Are they doing enough?
But you hear, no, it may not be enough. It may not be enough. But to some extent, they have also supported the security agencies. The only thing you can say is, and even at that, I know that they give them cash as well. They are not supposed to be giving them cash. They are supposed to help them in operational issues, provide them vehicles, provide them accommodation, provide them intelligence and information that is within their knowledge, being the people on ground. They are supposed to do that. And virtually all the state governors are doing that. If you talk about governors that are part of the program, what are the security agencies doing? They are above the governors. The SS, the DSS, the army, they are above governors. If the army, the DSS within the state know that the governor is part of that program, what have they done? The problem and responsibility goes back to the federal government. The federal government ought to intervene. Is that not a proper case where you can even declare a state of emergency if you know the governor is part of the insurgency or crisis within the state? That is the responsibility of the federal government. But they have shirked that responsibility. Governors have tried to devise ways. In Benue State, they started the forest guards. Because in the first place, we don't have sufficient police or army to patrol everywhere, to be everywhere. The insurgency is generalized in the villages, in the bushes. You don't have soldiers and police to cover all those areas. The state governors have formed vigilantes. Some of them call it, in Benue, they call it forest guard. Recently, I'm sure you are aware of the murders that happened in Plateau State.
Yeah.
Of recent. The governor has set up vigilantes and imported arms for them, pump action guns, which are licensed by a commissioner of police in the state. So he imported these pump action guns for the vigilantes, and they were seized on the orders of the National Security Advisor. So Plateau that is being attacked daily with hundreds being murdered, they are defenseless. Meanwhile, the army and the police deployed there are unable or unwilling to sort the problem out. It's not that, I do not even believe that they are unable. They are unwilling to sort out that problem. Right, when the governor attempts to, at least, even what they are trying to give the vigilantes does not match with the automatic weapons that these people have. But at least when you are in your place, and you know the nook and crannies of your place, even somebody coming from afar with sophisticated, you have advantage. Even that has been denied the states by the federal government. A recent case is that of Plateau, where pump action rifles imported by the Plateau government have been confiscated on the orders of the National Security Advisor, while at the same time they are unable to stop the killings. In Benue State, in the last 2 months, 600 people, over 600 people have been killed, with over 3,000 displaced, on top of about 800,000 that are already in internally displaced camps. What do you expect the governor to do if he cannot arm vigilantes to confront these people in the villages where the army cannot go, where the police are not there? So blaming the state governors is wrong. I would never accept that, knowing what I know of the structure of security agencies in Nigeria. Talking about corruption of the governors on the security was 100%. And I have said repeatedly that security votes should be audited. There's nothing, no law that says that it should not be audited. It's a convention. It's not a matter of law. It is a convention that has developed over time. And I have advocated that these votes must also be audited. Let's know that you use it for security. But once you say the security vote is withdrawn and taken to the governor, you don't hear anything again. That is the part of the corruption. But to use it to now blame the governors, try to make people think that it's the governor that is not doing up and down and
Yeah,
against
but
the SEC,
honestly,
not
no,
correct.
honestly, why I agree with you, but not in totality that the blame is to the president, the presidency. I still believe that the governors have hand in that because apart from governors, we have the security personnel, security agencies who are actually involved in all this corruption. And remember, we've talked about this issue of insecurity in Nigeria, and there was this people globally have exposed what is happening in Nigeria. That it has the voice of Esau, but the hand of Jacob. That's what is happening here. There's global connection as well. So that makes it even more complicated because with global connection, we have a whole lot of money going to people that are involved, people that are fighting the same or whatever. So it's a web of corruption. It's a web of monetary inducement by different players here, both local and international players. So it's actually a web. Again, that which brings us to to your point. Actually, that's why I said I agree with you, but not completely, but overwhelmingly. I agree with at least overwhelmingly. The blame goes to a part of the blame. Overwhelming blame goes to the presidency because they should take charge of it's a responsibility. That is their basic responsibility to take care of security in the country. So, but at the same time, just like I said, so many blames. The blame is just big enough to go around. Anyway, that's just the bottom line. It's unfortunate that what we're experiencing, what we're experiencing in Nigeria right now is just technically just ethnic cleansing, and that is why useless Ribadu, who in the first place, I honestly, when he was appointed NSA, I remember we talked about it for God's sake. No Ribadu for God's sake, NSA. Okay, I understand he was assistant commissioner. I think he retired as a assistant commissioner of police. Is he assistant or deputy? No, assistant now. Sorry, yes, assistant. Is he assistant? Yes, he retired as assistant commissioner of police. I think so. Either assistant or deputy. He's the commissioner of police. And I think what gave him that NSA criteria is he attended this school. This
National Institute of Policy
in Jos. Yes. A sort of. So I think that is basically that is. But otherwise, what experience does he have, for God's sake? I don't know. But other than that, I don't. That man is just for him to for. I don't get it. What else do you if not ethnic cleansing? Why will you license? You gave a governor license to acquire gun for security purpose in his state, and when the gun was imported, you confiscated it. That is to, of course, you want to make them defenseless so that these Fulanis will just come and keep killing these people. This is inhumanity to humans. Honestly, it's so wicked. It is evil. It is barbaric that, honestly, our leaders, again, it happened under what's his name? This Fulani man, Buhari. But why will such trend continue under Tinubu? That is a Southerner, for God's sake. I don't get it.
When you consider that some states have vigilantes that are armed with those pump action, Kaduna State vigilantes are armed with pump action rifles, right from the time of Rufai till now. They are all armed. They display it openly. So why will you deny a state which is the epicenter?
It's just they just want to commandeer this middle belt of the thing, Benue, and especially Benue and these plateau states. It's just ethnic cleansing. And that is why I remember we talked about this in our previous episode or whatever, that honestly, our Christian politicians who are Christians, who are buoyant, we should start defending ourselves. Because I understand why we Christians, that is not our faith, that is not who we are, that is not where we are, that is not what we are made of. There is no violence in our DNA. Everything about Christianity preaches peace and love. Everything. There is nowhere the Bible teaches resistance or rebellion. Huh? But the other religion teaches opposite of what our religion. But at the same time, we have to at least if we protecting ourselves, defending ourselves is one thing. But defending and protecting our families is the major thing here. If we cannot defend ourselves, let us defend and protect our families, our children, our mothers, our sisters, our wives. That is at least for this purpose. For ourselves, okay, as Christians, okay, that's understandable. We are Christians, we just can't, sometimes there are things you can't just take up arms and start killing people or whatever. Of course, that's Christianity. No, we cannot do that. But at least we have to defend and protect people, our loved ones. It is important. Otherwise, these people are just killing us, for God's sake. They will eventually wipe us off if we don't speak up. If we don't do anything. It is so sad. So sad, honestly.
It is only in that respect that I blame the governors, because the governors of this state should be able to galvanize their people to fight these invaders.
Honestly.
With or without the support of the federal government.
Federal government, yes, of course.
That is the level I blame the governors. Because
honestly, it's so sad.
Enough is enough. These issues have been going on for decades. How can you tell me the IDP camps in Benue State have been there for more than 8 years? People are in those internally displaced camps. Their whole families are there. You can't go back to your house. You can't farm in your farmland. They are there depending on charity of people to feed.
Honestly.
For 7 years, not 6 months, not 1 month. For the past 7 years. How can I come as a governor and take that kind of thing lightly?
Honestly, the people who are responsible for this, it no go better for them. People who are responsible because of their personal aggrandizement and benefits, they are doing this to us, to humanity. Honestly, it no go better for them. Honestly.
It is known. The people who are perpetrating this are known. The security agencies cannot say they don't know.
Of course, they know them now.
They know.
The security agencies, they know them, and because they are part of the system. They are part of the finance.
It's lack of political will by the government at the center that is perpetuating these crimes. Nothing more, nothing less.
It is not just the political will is there. Somebody like Tinubu now. Tinubu has the political will to do that. But the problem is, what is happening is blackmail. You see, this is the disadvantage of actually having a president with baggage, with corruption baggage behind him or her. Honestly, that is why when we are electing people, we should always elect those people who have clean slates in their background. Their background is clean. Because if you elect a president who has a background like Tinubu, the West have everything, all his secrets, they have it. Everything. They have it. All they need to do is just to flash it to him privately, and he will just come begging. And that's exactly what is happening. So the truth is, Tinubu has this political will. We know that he is the man who is always in charge and in control of whatever he does. We know that. So, but Tinubu has that. He has that confidence, that leadership confidence. to take control of the situation. But he cannot do it because just like we pointed out earlier, that this is a web, this insecurity thing in Nigeria is a web of corruption, web of a conglomerate of interests, global, local interest, different interests from the president, from the politicians, from the presidency, from the security agencies, from the state level, at the state level, local government level. Look, there are interests all over scattered around. So it's a complex thing. But the man at the helm of affairs, Tinubu, cannot do anything because they are impeding him from doing. Of course, they are impeding him from doing that. It's so sad. It's so sad that we have a country, a beautiful, wonderful country, a country that is supposed to be wonderful indeed. But look, just here we are talking about people dying, ethnic cleansing. Honestly, it's so sad.